King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Back once again with another Wrestling is Real podcast here at WrestlingIsReal.com, which I want to make sure to let you know that the website, which I've been trying to work on a little bit here and there, I did a little more redesigning to it. It looks much better for what it is, a blogger page that I put the website on, but it does the trick. Now I have it pretty much where I want it to be. You can listen to the latest episode there. You can also go and check out the Amazon affiliate link, which I used to have the King of Amazon website, but then I let it go because don't need it. But please go ahead and look at that Amazon.com link that I have in the website. If you want to go and help out the show, you do your shopping, make sure to go through WrestlingIsReal.com to help out the show. That would be greatly appreciated. Also have the latest wrestling headlines that I go and pull up as well, if you want to take a look at that there for yourselves. And all the ways to subscribe to the show. All the ways to follow me. They're all on the website, WrestlingIsReal.com. Hope you'll go ahead and check it out for yourselves. So there's a lot to get into tonight. Number one, we're going to talk about the creative end. We're going to talk about, really everything that stems from Monday Night Raw. And to some extent, SmackDown, the entire creative process right now, where it's at. We'll talk about the SummerSlam debacle that we now know that it's going to be held in Las Vegas in August. And that, for whatever reason, they're holding on a Saturday, and it's going up against a Manny Pacquiao fight, which is not a great idea, but why we're going to have two events in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders now. Why we want to do that, I don't know, but they're doing it anyway. And the other story, which I don't know if anybody's talking about on the WWE end, is the stock. Because the stock right now is getting caught up in the Reddit meme stock war. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Fascinating story. Of course, me being the stock aficionado that I am, we got to go and talk about that in a little bit. Also, what I've done here on the program is I've also worked on the microphone, the one to make sure it sounds a little bit better. I'm still tinkering with this thing. I've had this microphone for 6 months, and I'm not still completely set on where I need to put this at. I love this microphone. It sounds great, but I do want to make it sound optimal, as best as possible. So I keep looking for the best settings for this so it does sound right. And I'm going to keep working on it. In the meantime, let's get into it. And to direct me into our conversation about the creative process, let's start no further than the Bleacher Report. Talking about nonsensical booking of Alexa Bliss, dragging Raw deeper into the creative abyss. So I know a lot of people through TikTok and Twitter, they are all talking about Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss. But do not forget that Shayna Baszler, was it about when she first started on the main roster? Do we remember what they did with her? Making her into a vampire? God. And then tagging with Nia Jax. And all this here, it's been so bad. They don't know what to do with her. And is this so hard for the company to go ahead and take something that works so well in NXT and just transfer it over without changes? But there's no such thing as that. This company is incapable of doing it. They don't want to do that. Not for a lack of trying. Because Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss, for the B-movie stock type of production that they had to do in the Thunderdome Monday night, that was about as good as they were going to be able to do. You can't perform it better given the material they have. But this continues to be the same problem. And I've said this on TikTok already, that people are upset. It's the material that these people are given. Yeah, I don't know how this all works together if there's a real mainstream audience that's not being tapped into. One of the shows I've been listening to lately is Busted Open, and I should have listened to it sooner. I've always caught clips of the show, but I never actually listened to the podcast. I don't catch SiriusXM. I don't have the subscription, and I'm up that early in the morning to listen to it. But now I'm catching the clip show they have on podcast form, and it does give you a lot. And the younger audience isn't being tapped, which is what they were talking about on Busted Open. The other thing, too, is the emotional investment. I think that's also those are a couple of points that have been made throughout Twitter, throughout TikTok, throughout social media, and throughout the podcasting community, from what I've heard. It's true. They're absolutely right. But I've talked about this many times before. The larger-than-life characters. We don't need the Attitude Era again. If I have to watch another Rock or Stone Cold promo or DX or Chris Jericho and all these things that happened before, the heyday of WWE and all that people have to go back and reflect on, if I have to, and again, I appreciate everybody that are the fans out there that are on social media that are talking about the greatest of all time, going back to nostalgia. There's more of that talk than ever because people are upset with the product. And then the other thing I heard somebody else say is that when people complain about the product that are stans of WWE and they get upset if anybody else says anything about it. Well, yeah, I get it. It's really kind of cutthroat. So only the diehard fans can be upset about it because it's like high school at recess. And it's like the kids in the playground can be like, look, your team's doing bad. And then it's like, shut up. That's what the reaction is. It's a bit immature and childish. But we're all big children watching this program because it's a guilty pleasure for all of us. I understand that part. So I don't make too much to it, but there's only so much that can be said. And when I listen to what people are saying across the board, there are obviously those that are completely closed-minded when it comes to any other wrestling promotion. That's okay. That's going to happen too. But I still come down to the fact that if I want to go and watch wrestling, there is so much to watch. Hell, I just started watching NWA Power again. I hadn't caught the show since it came back in March. So now I'm starting to catch up on, I just watched episodes 22 and 23 tonight to start catching up because I haven't caught up on NWA because I want to catch up when their pay-per-view comes up. So I'm catching up on that show. They've suffered by a number of people getting lost in transition and getting picked up by either AEW or other organizations, which has happened. And that's okay. We've had a lot of changes in NWA, but they're still getting some decent talent. The show looks good. It's the same Power show. I remember in the pandemic, the way they're able to do it, it still is pretty good. So that's nice. My point is, we have to, at least the fans out there, if you get a chance to go ahead and sample other programming, there's so much TV options right now, which is really wonderful for wrestling fans. Up until tonight, because on Wednesday nights when I record this show, we haven't had AEW to watch on Wednesday nights after I can get done. After that show's done, Dynamite's done, I will go ahead and record. But I haven't had that. So I had NWA tonight to watch. MLW's been on a break. They're supposed to be coming back soon. So I have with them the gun work off of. But when you look at the echelon right now, the tiers of wrestling companies that are out there, besides the indies, the television promoted wrestling promotions based mostly in America, I look at, in order, it's going to be WWE way on top, gaining ground as a second most visible promotion is AEW. And then I would go ahead and put Impact Wrestling, MLW, and NWA in the same category. Ring of Honor is also there. And if I had to look at who steps up top, I think Impact Wrestling is now a solid third. They're starting to stretch away. And then personally, I think, I'm going to say it, MLW stands after Impact Wrestling. Then I say NWA, and then I say Ring of Honor. It's kind of sad that way, but Ring of Honor, I have not been compelled to go and watch. But that's also with the wrestling. Yeah, good wrestling's across the board on all these shows. But it's also having an affinity of who I want to go and watch and like on these shows. It's the other part. But that's also dependent on the promotions and the booking they're doing. Because there's things in WWE right now that I would not care for, that I would prefer to watch, the stars from NWA to give me more charisma or more, and give me the same wrestling ability. What we do have to appreciate is that the WWE has really brought on so much talent that we have been able to get exposed to across the board. And whether we like it or not, if they do not make it well on the roster, on the main roster switch, if they get that up there as much, then we're going to see them somewhere else. Well, the chip on the shoulder released wrestlers, they work hard. They know they have to make a living. I mean, Matt Cardona talking about working with GCW and going after the likes of the champion Nick Cage there. That's cool. And he's motivated. He's inspired. He's an entrepreneur right now. Again, an independent contractor, but with a renewed sense of enthusiasm, of excitement, of ambition, of a new goal. And that's good. And there's a lot of wrestlers that get to do that as well. Heard Chelsea Green in some interviews, same thing. She's feeling that way. Braun Strowman's back out there. He's going to start charging more. And there's going to be other wrestlers that are working their way out there. Well, Aleister Black had already got a booking, and now supposedly he might be coming back to the company. There's so much talent that WWE acquires. We don't really question that too much. But their watered-down corporate sense to this style that they've had for so long because of the attraction that they are. We very well know there is nobody now that really does stand out, that is the main attraction. And if they are, they're not young. And they might not be catering to a younger audience. So we look at what's coming up now with SummerSlam, right? And I'm going to get back to the Raw talk in a minute because we're going to go back to creative and really get inside the storylines and talk about that in a moment. But the bigger picture. SummerSlam coming up. Roughly 9 weeks away. And the show is expected to have a WrestleMania-like feel because this is going to be one of the big 4 pay-per-views in front of a live crowd. And they're going to fill out Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. So, stadium crowd. And if I'm guessing they're going to go full capacity, then that's what they're going to do. Pretty much guessing they're going to have full capacity because what you're also going to have as well is you're going to be comparing a crowd that comes in to watch SummerSlam and compared to the crowd that's going to be there later that night to watch professional boxing between Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. So there's going to be a little bit of a personal animosity if boxing outdraws wrestling. So for wrestling and for WWE right now to really go ahead and get the momentum back on their side, what they had gotten from WrestleMania, getting that first live crowd in, but not being able to go and sustain it right away because they did not start the live tour yet. Now they want to. And now, once they get the tour back out, they're going to have to start pulling some strings to get the crowd excited again. Because they have kind of rested on the fact that they've had the Thunderdome to work off of. There hasn't been much more they had to go and do. They haven't done any cinematic matches. They stopped that. They're definitely doing more of, live action. And the matches they had that really stood out, even the number of stars that have not been around, that were part of the main event picture at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan being away, Edge being away, Sasha Banks being away. That's some of the storylines and things they've done when it comes to Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. They can keep that up, and they have chosen to, because there really hasn't been much of a direction change after WrestleMania. A lot of status quo right now in all their storylines, with a little bit of change here and there. But we notice that after WrestleMania, that significant change has not happened. And now the draft is going to get dropped in now. Doesn't make much of a difference to me, but people like to talk about the draft, so fantasy booking galore, here we go. And so you look at what they're going to try to do to try to get things back on board for this company to really get standing out and to be able to do something that's going to be good for them. And to really draw excitement back for the viewers. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it. So the report is from Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer Radio, is that WWE will have their SummerSlam show August 21st. And Dave Meltzer reported that they're going to have to go off the air in time so that fans can get to the Manny Pacquiao Errol Spence Jr. fight so they can get there in time. And the pay-per-view will air at the same time as SummerSlam, but the main event is not expected to start until sometime around midnight. Normally, that's how the Vegas fights are. So with that said, SummerSlam will start 8 p.m. Eastern Time, probably run 3 hours, and that's it. So they have to make sure pretty much hard stop at 11 o'clock, at the most. But they're starting at 8, not at 7. Forgot. So the Pacquiao fight will not be at Allegiant. I don't know why I thought that. It's actually going to be, I want to say MGM Grand, isn't it? So they haven't said where it's supposed to be. Actually, that's where I was confused. They have not announced the venue. But people are thinking it's going to be MGM Grand, but we don't know that yet. But I was just wondering, would they even do it at Allegiant Stadium? But I guess they can't do it because they're going to have SummerSlam. So they never really made that point. And maybe I just kind of played along and thought, well, one show's going to end, the next one's going to come in. I guess I was wrong. It's expected there will be somewhere around 60 to 70,000 fans in attendance. And the rumored main event is John Cena versus Roman Reigns. And the idea is that since they couldn't get a full house for WrestleMania, they will do a WrestleMania caliber show with SummerSlam in the stadium. So bringing back John Cena for live crowds. Going back to the well. What else? What else do you put in that SummerSlam show that's going to really make people stand out? Now there's talk that Brock Lesnar might return. So new part-timers. Still not enough that's going to take care of that regular product. We know there's always going to be a bit of a drop-off and a regression and an erosion of audience. We already knew that was going to be going on for a long time with this product. That's been no question there. But even then, you want your core audience to have some momentum, some excitement, something to look forward to, which will resonate to the rest. Plus, you got to be able to do something to bring something more to the characters they have and bring something that's going to get more interest. Because if you're going to go do the live shows again, I've made this point that the wrestlers that got released probably were a cost-cutting measure to help support, along with the consolidation of the digital division. That consolidation, all those cost-cutting measures were going to be to contribute to the fact that they're going to go back on the road live. Live house shows are coming back. That constant spend is going to be coming back. The airfare, the flights, the hotels, all the stipends, and the wrestlers back out there again. We're getting back to that. Still, it's not going to be completely all over the place because they're going to be hitting Texas and Florida and where they can definitely do shows with full capacity for the most part and then work their way to the rest of the country and globally after that. But eventually, the live house shows are going to be coming back. Merchandise, they're going to get a good start off no matter what with the live shows, but then they consistently hold on to that crowd because if they continue to deliver the product they're doing right now on television, that house show crowd is going to diminish quickly. The luster will be gone quickly. And when people start seeing this, no matter if they see the fact that WWE is going to be back in their town for the first time in years, it's not going to matter after a while. So it's very important for this company to get this right. I know it's not as important, but you can't be sitting back and just living your legacy when there's nobody else that stands out, where you struggle as always to build a pay-per-view for a big crowd hoping to get enough people to go and watch. Sure, they can go ahead and bring people back like they always do. So look at that. Let's get some part-timers back. Brock Lesnar, John Cena. Let's get Becky Lynch back. Let's get Sasha Banks back. Let's get people back out there. Ronda Rousey, let's get them all back. A tired trope of solution. A constant solution that it doesn't change anything. And the product keeps drowning. It just keeps diminishing. Diminishing returns in your ratings, diminishing returns because when they put the revenue out there and they start having to lose the revenue, meanwhile everything else is being made money, that's one thing. We have to figure out what are they going to be able to do to get their programming in order. Regardless, have some pride. The way it's being done right now is not good. No one's liking it. No one's overall happy. For me, this is where I hope that the other wrestling promotions will pick up on this and take the time. Because what's happening is, even though I talk about the other wrestling promotions being able to go ahead and pick up some ground, they're still struggling to pick up some ground as well. Because for them, AEW, regardless of what the ratings look like on Friday nights, which have not been good, they're still stuck there for another 3 weeks. They're not getting back to their normal time slot until July. And then they're eventually going to have to make that switch over from TNT to TBS coming up next year. There's still a lot of good things to go ahead and look up for them. Have the gimmick matches been enough? Have they done enough to go and build characters and develop them? There's been a lot of wrestling on those shows. AEW could serve to go ahead and take more time to develop more layers to the storylines or develop more of the characters and give some more dimensions to each character. We could probably use a little more of that. I know that's going to take away because the fans that they have are rabid. They want wrestling. They want old school. And so it's not sports entertainment, but we know that the bulk of the audience out there, they kind of expect it. Give us a lot of wrestling and give us storylines and give us larger-than-life characters. They're trying. The protocol they've been working off of, the process has been working, and they're just trying to hope that something will take off. But there's a lot of good things I like about AEW that are good, but that's only going to placate to the fans that have abandoned or have chastised WWE and have put their support behind the Rebel promotion, regardless if you don't think it's a Rebel promotion or not. But it's trying to be. They're trying to create a system and an environment that is not WWE-like. They're basically trying to put not so much attitude there, but they're trying to create a fun environment there, real creativity, opening things up, and it's an ideas place. So nobody's really cracking down on which ideas are coming up and they're going to be stood out, and they have not cracked down on saying, okay, these stars need to be these stars that are on there, and everybody else gets shut out. Everybody else gets thrown in the dark. Because there's a lot of people that come from dark that go to Dynamite and get a chance to be seen. Quite a bit of exposure for a lot of stars in there. But you never feel like any of their stars are oversaturated either. Impact Wrestling, and the same boat. I did a TikTok video about the fact that I think Impact Wrestling, you look back at 2015, you look back at the time after Spike TV, bounced around to Destination America, the Pursuit Channel, and then over to Access. So they have really, I was surprised the company survived like it did. What we did get out of that was Billy Corgan got a good chance to really shine for a little bit, having Impact Wrestling and being the president of it, because it inspired him to go ahead and ambitiously take the likings of NWA and try to build that promotion from the grave, build it back up, and take a legacy brand and try to bring it back to some real, try to get the reputation back for it. I believe he's doing really well with it. What's going to happen with these organizations like these outside of the WWE bubble? These outside organizations looking at the big prize, at the major leagues, they're able to do some of the things that WWE is going to be able to do. Because they're going to get to go live on their shows once again as well. Get their crowds back. Impact Wrestling already planning to get a crowd out for Slammiversary in July. NWA eventually will start hitting crowds once again. Ring of Honor will eventually start hitting crowds once again. They're all going to start getting crowds again. MLW will be back in front of live crowds. Wrestling will get themselves back to some kind of normalcy now by the end of the year. You're going to see all these organizations back to merch sales, back out on the road to do pay-per-views. The crowds, we'll start seeing people in the crowds, and we'll see all the social media interaction out there coming up again. It's all going to come back. And it's wonderful to see all of this coming back. And that's only going to help the rest of the organizations out there. So all the organizations, all the wrestling organizations as a whole are going to get an upswing because they're going to get their live crowds back. Now, AEW is already starting to get the benefits of it. Regardless of what you think of what they've been doing with their ratings on television, they're getting people at Daly's Place. They're being able to get live crowds. They're getting revenue from there, along with their broadcast deal. They got the merch out there. And they're going back on the road as well. They're making their way back. And the pay-per-views are selling well. So I really feel like when you look at the pay-per-views, the pay-per-view buys, they're increasing. The ratings have not been indicative. But when you have a lot of issues like that where you're getting preempted, what are you going to do? And they're at a certain spot. NWA, they got their support system with the Fight TV deal, so able to get some premium money off of that. That's only going to build their organization because they couldn't get it so much off of YouTube, working off of making money off of that. So taking the premium service, building that up, and then also getting their pay-per-views up there, they're going to start drawing some money. And I think NWA will find a way to build themselves up as well. They're on a growth they're on a growth trend right now as well. I think they're going to find their way up to the level of Impact Wrestling pretty soon. So keep an eye out if NWA is able to get themselves. Are they going to stick to Fight TV? Could they find a TV deal at some point down the line? Because wrestling could be considered for that. Somebody might consider to bring them on TV somewhere. That hour slot for Power could go somewhere. They're the only company that does not have a locked-in broadcast TV deal yet. I think somebody would look at them. MLW got their Vice deal that's coming up right now. They got BN Sports. Ring of Honor got their deal with their broadcast partner. It's because NWA doesn't have a broadcast partner right now. But I think somebody's going to pick them up. That kind of program is going to be something they can go ahead and take and they can go and apply it onto a channel. I think somebody's going to pick it up. I don't see why it doesn't happen. But then what happens after this, all these companies are going to lift themselves up. So we're going to eventually see a resurgence across the board. And then what's going to happen is all these companies need to find out, are they going to be able to take advantage of the weakness that WWE is right now giving? They are weak. They're showing signs of weakness, but more so than ever before. And eventually the corporate changes that are being made are going to eventually take shape. And Vince McMahon will only have so much time to continue to keep doing what he does on a regular basis. short-term solutions, short-term fixes, last-minute changes. This is not the way the corporate protocol works. Because the corporate climate at Titan Towers is going to change. And I would imagine that Nick Khan will want to try to create a different environment as to how the bread and butter is being made. How the donuts are being made. Because here's what you have to think about. Vince McMahon and the people around him have been able to go and churn out, and they've been generating content for a long time. And they're able to go and generate content regularly. Even with all their older content. They've always been able to do that. Or repurpose some of their content, bring in new interviews, bring in new backstage footage, all those things. So they're capable of doing that. And we all know they do really well with it. But there's something to be said about this main source of content. The on-air product. The product that is done live. The commitment to 5 hours of programming to their broadcast partners. The method that's being done, the formatics. Who is chosen to be pushed besides others? This methodical style of booking that's been very copy and paste and very interchangeable. And has not been fresh or organic. I have to believe that the company's going to have to undergo some changes from that. It will not stay like that forever. Because of all these changes that are going on right now, eventually it's going to work its way down to the on-air product. The main roster, all that's going to be affected by all the changes that are happening right now. They're just happening now. But the control and the influence and the change has sometimes been swift and very ambitious. Which is probably the way Nick Khan does it. Now, I think one of the things is that getting the feel of a sports type broadcast here is what is kind of the direction that the corporates at WWE are trying to go and create. But they need to be able to make it where it has to be a bit of a circus type feel. You have to create attractions that are going to be kid friendly. You want to get kids and teenagers out there to go buy the belts. To who do they really want to go ahead and get autographs for and get a hug from? Who are they going to stand for? You got to get that going. There's going to be some stars that are going to totally be that. That cannot be stars that have been around for a long time that are, they're only going to be around for so long. Only have so many sea legs left. Sea legs only have so much to work with. Let me go into Bleacher Report. Let's talk about what they're saying here with the nonsensical booking. Get back to what I had planned to talk about 30 minutes ago. This is a very bold statement to start off from Eric Beeston. WWE Raw has been the worst major wrestling show on television for nearly a year now. The company doubled down on that claim when it delivered one of the worst segments of recent memory with Shayna Baszler's appearance on Alexa's Playground. He mentions that, to her credit, Alexa Bliss has been nothing short of excellent in her new role. She's completely embraced the new persona and made the most of what's given to her, which has unfortunately been disjointed rubbish. So now Alexa Bliss is basically taking the Bray Wyatt persona. It's fine in theory, but that decided lack of direction the creative team appears to have with regards to her character is not worked. She has popped up here and there. Only recently did she finally hone in on Baszler as an intended target of her mind games. Too often, feuds just start just to start. There's no real reason for them, and nor is there really any point. They just really happen for a few weeks and end abruptly. Some continue on and forget what the goal was in the first place. As I have talked about, we get a beginning, something muddled in the middle, and we really never get a good ending or an ending at all. Then the world title feuds would drag on for months because the writing team has little idea what to do with either man involved after they wrap up. We had a 3-month feud with Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, never really intensified or even evolved much beyond guy number one's wants title from guy number two. Yet will now inexplicably take place inside Hell in a Cell for not much of a reason at all. But they have nobody else built up for the main event. Roman Reigns is expected to go and take on Rey Mysterio at Hell in a Cell. Pretty predictable to me that I see Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns retaining those belts. What was once a show that's sure of the company's most important television property, well, it's not, because SmackDown has been changed. We know that. It's become a thrown together, rehashed entity that is entirely skippable and features nothing really worth investing in, despite an incredibly talented roster of hardworking performers. Now, this is one of those stories that they will go ahead and offer what they can improve. I'm not going to go into all of them. I think one of the highlights has been the RK Bro stuff. I do like that. But that's just out of convenience. To put Orton and Riddle together, what else are they going to do? The other thing that also he makes mention of at the end here, Eric Beeston, is that there needs to be more urgency. There's a total lack of urgency the company has approached, which is devalued significantly as of late. It's no longer destination viewing. Video clips or written recaps are often more entertaining than the 3-hour presentation. Maybe the crowds will make a difference for them. We have to hope that the live shows are going to make a difference. We already know that the crowds coming back and the response they're going to get, that is going to be enough for people to go and come back and watch the shows. So Raw can get back to 2 million viewers. SmackDown can get back to probably like 3 million viewers again. I really feel like once everything gets back to like that, the crowds are going to come back and the viewers are going to come back. I do think they're going to get that benefit from it. On the SmackDown side, so anything that the Usos and Roman Reigns have done, it's one of the most compelling storylines there is. The Mysterios being added into the mix, it's what it is. In this past week, Carmella coming back out, which they could do more with, but they stopped and started with her, stopped and started with Sasha Banks. I don't know why. But possibly Carmella's being built up so that she'll be the next opponent for Bianca Belair after Bayley probably loses to her at Hell in a Cell. And some people like to go ahead and complain about King Corbin. The King Corbin Shinsuke Nakamura stuff, they've just been kind of dancing partners because that's just what they need to do. I don't know if Rick Boogs has really done much of the Nakamura act. I just don't see it. It's fine. I think Pat McAfee plays it up really well. The King Corbin character's been fine. And he is probably arguably the best heel they have in the company. And they don't do anything well with him. I mean, King Corbin has not had the kind of heat that he was when he was the general manager of Raw. Apollo Crews, you add the General Aziz character. It's still kind of just a cartoony kind of character right now. Doesn't resonate. It's not bad. They're not working with a whole lot of people right now on both sides. And it's the creative team working with the bare minimum, allowed to use the bare minimum of talent. With that talent, they're given a bare minimum of storyline. And I have to believe that the reason the creative team is kind of like this is because it's kind of a forfeiting attitude. When you're going to get shut down of all ideas, because then you got to go through Bruce Pritchard to go to Vince McMahon with ideas, and everything can get shot down. Plus, the creative team where they're coming from, they're not the types to probably go ahead and rehash what's already been done in wrestling storyline. But there's probably not even any new ideas they can give to Vince McMahon that would resonate because Vince is stuck in his ways. But there's no real heat. The heels don't even have that much heat. The babyfaces are a little bit better, but not much. And I've said this before. The Insta feuds, not scheduling and booking matches that we can wait for the next week to give us something that we need to go and watch the following week. It's not enough. And these are changes they can make that do not cost money. I mean, it could cost a little bit with props and things like that. But how many times do I look on TikTok and I see the constant videos, the barrage of old videos that are all promos? I look at the same promos pop up all the time on my TikTok feed, my FYP, on my Twitter feed. And I look and it's the same things. What did The Rock say this week? Or what did The Rock say here and there? Constantly promo. Unscripted, bullet pointed, off the cuff. And natural. If it's not CM Punk, if it's not Stone Cold, if it's not Cena, if it's not Santino Marella doing the tea time with Sheamus, like all this, no one's given a lot of time to promo cut. And they never even took into account the delay at WrestleMania Saturday when all those wrestlers got a chance to cut promos because they had to find a way to do something in the meantime. And they didn't pick on the fact that people actually did enjoy those promos. I personally did enjoy the promos, and it actually did help when we couldn't get WrestleMania started right away because of what happened with the rain at Raymond James Stadium. It's a fascinating part, but they don't do anything about it. Now, do I feel like it's a little bit better than NXT? Is NXT becoming a better role model for what they need to do on the main roster? Somewhat. They actually do character development there a little bit better. NXT, I feel like they kind of do what AEW does in terms of the character development, in terms of factions, and in terms of trying to create that cool factor. That I feel like they do. And even their numbers are not really stepping up much different. They got a little under 700,000 viewers for the second week in a row, leading up to the In Your House Takeover show, which is okay. But this is where it shows that across wrestling, across the board, it can't just be wrestling. We have to have that entertainment value. Because the wrestling fans in us, yes, of course we like a great move or great move sets and we like great matches. But invested interest in those matches. A reason for those matches. We have to have more of that. We cannot live without that. There has to be more. I don't know what they're going to be able to do, but they'll have to figure it out. Another Bleacher Report story that also brings up the same story is WWE makes it even harder to get emotionally invested in wrestlers. From Chris Rowling earlier this week. he makes the point there's little reason for fans to get invested in characters and storylines because WWE's drop storylines left and right. Likewise, the company's lack of creativity when booking stars and entire divisions often doesn't lead to satisfying payoffs, and that's when a plan gets followed through it all. Braun Strowman and Aleister Black are perfect examples. And he makes the point that the budget cuts that were made, fans know that WWE will turn right around and spend big the next time a Lesnar or Goldberg wants to come back around the middle of the summer or during WrestleMania season. And the fear in investing in superstars because they could be cut from the roster, fans have to worry what would happen just so that WWE can bring in temporary acts they might have an interest in seeing in the first place. Not wrong there. Not wrong. So, we'll stay on top of this. Of course, we're going to have to continue to deal with the issues here that people are going to be upset by. But let's talk about the good news that WWE had today and for the week in general. Well, here we go. WWE's stock is now part of the Reddit investors' war with hedge funds and for the major market investors. So a little bit of stock talk here. Try to follow along if you can. Okay, and I'll do my best to explain this all to you. So I'm going to take from Bloomberg that explains what this is going on here. So where do we start off with that? We got to go to Wall Street Bets. The Reddit community called Wall Street Bets, a subreddit where participants discuss in stock and option trading. Known for aggressive trading strategies and playing a role in the GameStop short squeeze that caused some U.S. firms and short sellers to lose millions of dollars in only a few days. And members of the subreddit are often young retail traders and investors who ignore fundamental investment practices and risk management techniques. The popularity of no-commission brokers and mobile online trading has contributed to the growth of these trading trends. And members of the community see often high-risk day trading as an opportunity to quickly improve their financial conditions and obtain additional income. As some of the members use borrowed capital like student loans to bet on certain meme stocks that show popularity within the community. So, long story short, in the stocks, sometimes somebody will go ahead and put money into a stock, and within a day or a couple of days, they expect an increase, and then they will remove that money out. They're putting a lot of money into it, just like gambling, and then taking out. So what's happening now is they're doing that with WWE. First, they were doing with AMC Theaters because they liked it. GameStop was the most popular one. BlackBerry is also another one, and others. So now we have WWE. So let's look at the price they have right now. In the last 5 days, prior to this all starting off, WWE stock was as low as $55 on June 3rd, so almost a week ago. Then all of a sudden, the Reddit community started making some jump. And there was a little bit of a move up to $58. And then all of a sudden, this stock community from Reddit bumped the price up to $67 to start off Wednesday morning, June 9th, peaking at $68. At the moment, it's now $64 after the end of trading, after hours trading today. Up 15% in the last 5 days. Crazy. Right now it's staying steady at $64, but it got up as high as $68. So to bring that price up $10, think about it. If you put $1,000, you made $10,000. A lot of money to be made. If you can put a lot of money into it and grow it, that's what's happening. And then, of course, if the company decides to go and sell some shares at this price, that's only going to help them out. After hours got up to $66. They are rolling in it right now. So now their stock's going up. The highest has been in like over a year. I mean, they have not gotten as high since the broadcast deals were made for Fox and NBC Universal. So let's pick you back up. Here's what we got so far in the story. So World Wrestling Entertainment stock was trending on the Reddit board Wall Street Bets this morning, and little else was needed to push the stock higher. There was no news that should have fundamentally changed how investors viewed the stock. No earnings released, partnerships announced, analysts didn't change their view of the stock, but traders piled in today anyway. And Reddit traders can now move stock short term, but the fundamentals are what foolish investors should focus on. As the economy reopens and WWE can welcome back more fans, we should expect revenue to pick up. But there's not much reason to think the interest will be higher than before the pandemic. And the traditional investor is going to say, well, the stock's trading near a year high, and the company needs to prove that operations are truly better than they were 2 years ago. So once they get themselves back to live shows on the road once again, and their full operations are back up, that's what people are going to be worried about. That's what they're going to concern themselves with. So we need to keep in mind of that and what comes with that. So they're lucking out with that. And people think that this might become the next meme stock. For whatever reason, all these investors want to put money into WWE stock just because they can. Well, no particular reason. And WWE can also, and as a stockholder, with the stock price being up as high as it is, they can make money off of it. It's only going to work out for them. AMC Theaters, they raised like $50 million, and they were in bankruptcy before all this. But they were going to raise quite a bit of money off the boost in stock price for themselves in order to be able to go and pay off their debt. The debt that they accrued during the pandemic. So AMC is actually going to do really well. GameStop, as we know, the game provider for video games, they were like near bankruptcy as well. And these people brought GameStop back up out of nowhere and raised the price up to about $300 a share. Crazy money. And a lot of people became millionaires. I bet you some of you in the audience might have taken a part on this and probably became pretty wealthy yourselves. But keep in mind that all this meme stock stuff going on right now, you want to get out of the stock market right now altogether if you are investing a little bit. Stay in long-term stuff for right now because, honestly, we're going to get inflation coming up soon. A few other things are going to be happening with the stock market. So I would say if you got anything in the small-cap stocks, get it out, throw it in crypto. That's what I did. I didn't want to deal with any of this because I'm really afraid of what's going to happen in the market. It's a 34,000 for the Dow. Like I'm just saying, if you do invest in the stock for WWE, which I did before as well, by the way. But I got out of there because I didn't make any money off of it. I was like, no. I put in, I forget how much it was. And it didn't do me well. It is what it is. But that's what happened there. And it's fine. It's only another thing that just benefits the company overall. They just look out from it. I guess we could take a minute and talk about Lio Rush's retirement announcement. Let's take a minute to talk about Lio Rush. Unfortunate. Dropped the MLW middleweight title to Myron Reed. He appeared in the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. And on social media, he announced he was going to retire from professional wrestling. Aside from some final commitments to New Japan Pro Wrestling because it was New Japan Strong. He intends on stepping into the ring because of an injury. AEW still offered him a contract even though they knew he was injured during the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. Tony Khan mentioned that Lio Rush reached out to him and shared that he'd planned to announce his retirement from pro wrestling tonight. But he's said he's made a choice and he's confident will make him and his family happy. And then something happened with Greg Hamilton, the announcer at WWE, for whatever reason. So the news came out Tuesday night. Lio Rush suffered a shoulder injury during his AEW debut. And then Greg Hamilton wrote on Twitter, kind of an impulse tweet. Shouldn't have said it, but he did. Wow, unreal. If we all didn't have our own lives and families to take care of, I might just pretend to give a swearing face emoji. On behalf of the wrestling family and community who work for a living, on to the gym, eyes roll emoji. And then Greg Hamilton had to go ahead and walk it back. Quote, I can admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. We don't have to see eye to eye backstage, but Lionel Green is an incredible father as well as a talent. I have all the respect in the world for that. No one made me type this. Just owning my mistakes, he'll be missed. So it's too bad you're going to see that happen to him. Nevertheless. So I'm going to leave it there. But I do implore you. I'm so proud. I finally got the website more or less where I want it to be. WrestlingIsReal.com. Check it out for yourselves. Latest episodes you can find right there. Subscribe to the show. Follow yours truly wherever you want. I am starting to make more content over on TikTok. So I am making comments to the wrestling community out there. I'm putting more content up there as I can. So I'm trying to get myself involved. Still tweeting on Twitter. Still putting a little bit of Facebook here on the Facebook.com/WrestlingIsReal. And the Instagram. Also got that too. So I hope all of you have a great week. We have shows on the way this weekend. We have Impact Wrestling Against All Odds. I'll quickly go into a little preview predictions for that. Kenny Omega will take on Moose for the Impact World title. I think Moose is actually going to win that belt in an upset. Deonna Purrazzo versus Rosemary for the Knockouts title. I'll say Deonna's going to win. Knockouts tag team titles. Fire and Flavor versus Susan and Kimberly. I'll take Fire and Flavor. Bound by Design. Rhino and Diener for the Impact Tag Team Championships. Defending against Decay. And I'll take Bound by Design for the win. Number 1 X Division Contenders match. Petey Williams, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, Rohit Raju. I'll take Trey Miguel. Rich Swann versus W. Morrissey. And Satoshi Kojima versus Joe Doring, accompanied by Bound by Design. I'll take Kojima on the win, and I'll take Morrissey on the win over Rich Swann. There you go. So that's coming up this weekend. If I get a chance to go and catch it, I'll talk about that. And as for NXT TakeOver in your house, I'll take a little quick preview predictions for that. This weekend, Karrion Kross will defend the NXT Championship in a 5-way versus Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. I say Karrion Kross retains. Ladder match for the $1 Million Championship, Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight. I think Cameron Grimes, they're going to build it up for him to win it. Raquel Gonzalez versus Ember Moon, NXT Women's title. I'll take Raquel to win. Mercedes Martinez versus Zia Lee. I think Mercedes Martinez has the win. NXT North American and NXT Tag Team Championships. Winner take all. Bronson Reed will put up the North American title. MSK will put up the tag team titles versus Legado de Fantasma. And I think Bronson Reed and MSK will come out winners. There you go. Too soon to turn those around. And then next week we'll have Hell in a Cell, Impact Wrestling's anniversary on July 17th, and SummerSlam on August 21st. We also have Ring of Honor's Best of the World pay-per-view on July 11th coming up. And I did not get a chance to watch NWA's When Our Shadows Fall. But when I get a chance, I'm going to try to catch up on as much NWA as I can and talk about what they've been doing with the product and who they have back out there. We'll talk about that coming up in future episodes. But we'll be back next week with another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts. and search King of Podcasts on YouTube or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.